Good day to everyone. I'm Architect Ricardo H. Cisbreño, an OFW from Doha, Qatar, currently a senior architect with Dimensions Engineering Consultant. I have passion in architecture history and classical architecture.
Welcome to Historia de Arquitectura. Today we will be talking about the part 2 of the Sagrada Familia, the day the Augustinian order, Pope Leo XIV visits and blessed the Tower of Jesus Christ. On June 10, 2026, an Augustinian order Pope Leo XIV pays an historic visit to Barcelona's famous church, the Sagrada Familia, and celebrated the most beautiful and solemn Mass that I've ever seen. The celebrated Mass marks the centenary of the death of the famous and visionary architect Antoni Gaudi. After the Mass, the Pope officially blessed the newly completed 172.5-meter Tower of Jesus Christ and also made history as the first Pontiff to pray at tomb of Antoni Gaudi. The overall height of the Sagrada Familia of 172.5 meters is slightly lower than the Montjuic Hill. Gaudi said that structures made by man should not be greater than what God has created. Sagrada Familia is a church that has under construction for 144 years in the district of Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain. It is the largest unfinished Catholic church in the world and designed by the Catalan visionary architect Antoni Gaudi. It has attracted 3.2 million visitors every year. Today, it is Spain's most visited monument, surpassing El Prado and La Alhambra. In 2005, Sagrada Familia was added to an existing 1984 UNESCO World Heritage Site, Works of Antoni Gaudi. Sagrada Familia was inspired by a bookseller, Jose Maria Bocabella, founder of Asociación Espiritual de Devotos de San Jose, Spiritual Association of Devotees of St. Joseph. After a visit to the Vatican in 1872, Bocabella returned from Italy with the intention of building a church inspired by the Basilica at Loreto. It was to be an expiatory temple, funded entirely by donations, in response to a growing rejection of the Catholic Church and its values. The apscript of the church was begun on March 19, 1882, on the Festival of St. Joseph, to the design of the architect Francisco de Paula del Villar, whose plan was for a Gothic revival church of a standard form. The apscript was completed before Villar's resignation on March 18, 1883. When Antoni Gaudi took over as chief architect, he was about 31 years old. He transforming the project with his architectural and engineering style, combining Gothic and curvilinear called Modernisme, or so-called Art Nouveau forms. Modernisme or Art Nouveau is an art free of any historical styles. It is a deliberate simplification of structural elements in buildings and interiors. Handmade forms of nature for ornamentation in the facade. Sometimes it has floral style, freely shaped, twisting vegetal forms. Gaudi often quote that a straight line belongs to man and the curved line belongs to God. However, at the age of 66, he devoted his remaining life for the Sagrada Familia in a slow phase, knowing he will not live long enough to finish the project. He often said that my client is not in a hurry, referring to God as his client. It seems that Gaudi has a vision that his project can only be completed using modern technology. Upon the death of Gaudi, the basilica was between 15 and 25% complete, which is mostly on the Nativity facade. This became the guideline of future builders who wish to continue the works of the Sagrada Familia. Other parts of the design were based on the existing style of architecture projects by Antoni Gaudi. Relying solely on private donations, construction faced its most significant challenge during the Spanish Civil War in 1936 to 1939. Barcelona became a center of conflict, and the work on the basilica slowed dramatically. Sagrada Familia was not hit by bombs during the 1938 air raids in Barcelona. While the city suffered devastating aerial bombardments by Italian and German forces supporting Francisco Franco, the basilica itself was spared from direct hits during those specific attacks. Architects and artisans who continued the work after the war had to rely on surviving sketches, photographs, and careful interpretation of Gaudi's style. In the 1980s, advancements in technologies such as computer-aided design and computerized numerical control have since enabled faster progress in the design and construction process. The central nave vaulting was completed in 2000, and the main tasks since then have been the construction of the transept vaults and apse. Computer-aided design technology has allowed stone to be shaped off-site by a CNC milling machine, whereas in the 20th century, the stone was carved by hand. The main nave was covered and an organ was installed in mid-2010, allowing the still unfinished building to be used for liturgies. The church was consecrated by Pope Benedict XVI on November 7, 2010, in front of a congregation of 6,500 people. A further 50,000 people followed the consecration Mass from outside the basilica, where more than 100 bishops and 300 priests were on hand to distribute Holy Communion. In 2012, Barcelona-born Jordi Fauli took over as architect of the project. Chief Architect Jordi Fauli announced in October 2015 that construction was 70% complete and had entered its final phase of raising 6 immense steeples. The steeples and most of the church's structure using post-tension stone were planned to be completed by 2026, the centennial of Gaudi's death. On October 30th, 2025, Sagrada Familia became the world's tallest church when a part of its central tower was lifted into place and reached 162.91 meters, surpassing Ulminster 161.53 meters. On February 20th, 2026, the Basilica's central spire of Jesus was mounted with a giant cross reaching its final height of 172.5 meters. The spires, as Gaudi's original design, calls for a total of 18 spires, representing in ascending order of height the 12 apostles, the 4 evangelists, the Virgin Mary, and tallest of all, Jesus Christ. To the east is the Nativity facade. Constructed between 1893 and 1936, the Nativity facade was the first facade to be completed. Dedicated to the birth of Jesus, it is decorated with scenes reminiscent of elements of life. To the west is the Passion facade. In contrast to the highly decorated Nativity facade, the Passion facade dedicated to the Passion of Christ, the suffering of Jesus during his crucifixion. The outstanding works of the church that has yet to be completed is the Glory facade, the largest and most striking of the facades, on which construction began in 2002. It will be the principal facade and will offer access to the central nave. Dedicated to the celestial glory of Jesus, it represents the road to God. The facade is expected to be completed in 2034, in which they will be laying all the tools for the Sagrada Familia for good. On May 6, 2026, the Holy See publicly released Leo's planned itinerary for a visit to Spain from June 6 to 12, 2026. He starts with an official arrival to Madrid, where he will meet with King Philip VI, Queen Letizia, and Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. By the way, our country, the Philippines, was named under King Philip II of Spain. Pope Leo XIV, born under the name of Robert Francis Prevost, is the head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of Vatican City. He was born in Chicago. Prevost became a friar in the Order of St. Augustine in 1977 and was ordained as a priest in 1982. He earned a Doctor of Canon Law degree in 1987 from the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas in Rome. His service includes extensive missionary work in Peru in the 1980s and 1990s. Elected Prior General of the Order of St. Augustine in 2001 to 2013, he was based in Rome and traveled extensively as part of this work, including to the Order's many provinces and missions around the world. Among his travels, he happened to visit the Philippines twice, once in 2004 and once in 2010. During this visit, he presided over a Mass at the historic San Agustin Church in Intramuros, Manila. He also visited various Augustinian communities and institutions such as my alma mater, the University of San Agustin in Iloilo City, Philippines, which is also run by the Augustinian Order since it was established 1904. By the way, I myself studied in this university, the University of San Agustin, since my first grade during elementary school days, then followed by high school and then college at the same university. In 1989, I graduated in the University of San Agustin with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Architecture. Therefore, I am proud to say that I studied in this university for a total of 15 years. Going back to Pope Leo XIV, in 2015, he then returned to Peru as Bishop of Chiclayo. In January 30th, 2023, he was created Cardinal by Pope Francis and was assigned as a Deacon of Santa Monica. Few days after the death of Pope Francis, on May 8, 2025, Cardinal Robert Prevost was elected to be the 267th Pope, taking the name Pope Leo XIV, the first American Pope in history. On June 10, 2026, an Augustinian Order Pope, Leo XIV, celebrated the most beautiful and solemn Mass that I have ever seen in Barcelona's most famous church, the Sagrada Familia, which marks the centenary of the death of the famous and visionary architect Antoni Gaudi. After the Mass, the Pope officially blessed the newly completed 172.5-meter Tower of Jesus Christ and also made history as the first Pontiff to pray at tomb of Antoni Gaudi. Outside the Basilica, in English the inscription reads, June 10, 2026, to the glory and praise of God, in memory of the visit of His Holiness, Pope Leo XIV, who blessed the Tower of Jesus Christ on the day of its inauguration on the centenary of the death of Antoni Gaudi. So this is Sagrada Familia, blessed by an Augustinian order and head of the Catholic Church known as Pope Leo XIV.